Before we get started with today's podcast, we'd like to ask returning listeners to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really enjoy it, share a link to this podcast with friends or family who would enjoy hearing our weekly discussions about basketball and basketball culture. Now, on to the show.
Jim, isn't it amazing when Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot, 9-inch game inside that three-point line? It's all theirs. Nice move by Steve Fisher here. Turn it into the 19.
Welcome to the 19.9 podcast. I've got a couple of guests here today. I got one of the owners of 19.9 here, Josh Barnett. How you doing, Josh?
What's up, sir? I'm not your guest. I'll run this thing.
You're right. No argument there. And I've got Ashley Hawkins. Can I call you Hawk?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Hawk here today. And I don't know where this one's going to go, actually, but I've been wanting to have Hawkins on here for a while. Just has a voice and stories and is just a hooper. So I wanted to get kind of your background and talk about all things women's basketball, men's basketball, just kind of see where it goes. So I don't know if you have an agenda either, Josh, but that's kind of where I'm at.
A really, really tight intro there, Meyer. Good job.
You're already ragging on me?
I'm just saying. It wasn't very clearly defined. We have one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah, hold
here.
the confetti. Let him do it.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my favorites, Ashley Hawkins. Miss her.
Hype man over here.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, Meyer, when you text me about coming on the pod, you were just talking about getting Ashley's perspective on a lot of different things, a lot of different categories. And so I was in from the start. So I'm super interested, super excited to be here, and want to get into it. So where are we going from there?
Well, I just wanted to get like credentials first. Tell me about like what, you've got a basketball story that's different than both of ours. What's that, and how did it get to you where you are today?
So I started out playing basketball. My dad was a really good basketball player in Henderson, Kentucky, which is where I'm from. So
we won't hate on Kentucky too much.
Yeah, that's
yet.
okay. Y'all can do that.
We're damn near Kentucky.
You all can do that. That's fine. Because I got firepower. We be
She's
all
sitting
right.
next to the IU jacket right now.
And
I tried to get her put it on. I tried to get her put it on. She wouldn't do it. Not being a good sport.
Yeah, that's okay though. And so basketball was kind of in my blood, out the gate. So I started playing basketball, and during the time when I was coming up, all we really had was basketball. I grew up on the rough part of Henderson, which is the South Side. We call it the South Side, but people refer to it as the East End. But it was a little rough. So the only thing that we had was basketball, or if you were a really good flipper, so we had competitions every day,
Oh my God, I love flipping.
Yeah,
I didn't know nothing about that until I played AAU basketball.
Really?
And I went over to South Bend, and right outside, like the little kids were just flipping down this little hill by the rec center, and I was like,
they go.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Like why did
no
I not do
training.
this?
Yeah, nothing.
I
They
should have
just
done this as a kid.
That's it. They just go for it, you know?
Yeah.
So we had, two separate competitions going on every day after school. We'd rush home, do our chores, rush to the back courts. We play basketball, and then it just kind of stuck with me. It became a habit,
Yeah.
So I actually had like a shooting machine in my bedroom.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's next level.
Yeah.
How
Barnett.
big was your bedroom?
I know.
It was huge. We had one of them old Victorian homes, so the ceilings were
vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, and it was a little contraption. It looked like you could strap your elbow in.
Barnett looks jealous right now.
And you couldn't go far. You could just strap your elbow into it, and you could go straight up and straight down. You couldn't stick your elbow out. So after I got that, I'd go to get up, work out on it, go to school, come home after practice, get back on there. Yeah, so
Hey, you realize that none of the stuff that you just said amounts to being on the rough end of Henderson, Kentucky.
But you know what happened? I had some really good people behind me. That's what happened.
There you go.
Yeah.
I got a good little support system. So I got some good people behind me who didn't want me to get lost in the streets. So they kind of invested in that, and it just took off from there.
Isn't that always kind of interesting to me when you hear people's success stories and where they came from and how athletics keeps people separated a lot of times from the street stuff and the bad stuff and all the traps of everybody's neighborhoods, really. And it's always just interesting how people look out for athletes.
Right.
It's like one of the most important things for like as a parent now,
Right.
where I'm like, I don't give a shit if my kids are good.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I want them to be good enough to be on a team.
Right. Yeah.
Like just stay on the team.
Camaraderie,
Just
right?
make a team because you're going to have all different races.
Everything.
You're going to have different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have different religions. And then you're going to be out there in the heat of the moment, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, soccer, or whatever, where you're going to have adversity.
Right.
And you're going to have to pull those people that don't look like you,
Right.
that don't think the same way as you, all together and figure the shit out.
Exactly.
It's life, right?
And that's how it used to be.
And now, a word from our sponsor. A-Zip Pizza is a build-your-own pizza place in Indiana and Kentucky. The jalapeno face is back. This pizza of the month is a jalapeno popper-inspired pizza and is one of A-Zip's most popular creations. It has ranch, cream cheese, and jalapenos for a little heat. It's only here for August, so get it before it's gone. They also have a ton of ingredients you can choose from to create something delicious on your own. Order online for curbside delivery at azippizza.com. Now, back to the show.
Okay. Educate me.
Yeah, well, I think that we've gotten lost, and I see it as a coach now. I'm having to battle against TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram.
I do all those.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And
I don't know anything about TikTok. I was joking about that.
I don't have a
Sure
Twitter.
you will.
No, I should have said I follow you on all of those. What are you talking about?
I would have been like, no, not a couple of them, you know? Yeah.
Couple of hidden ones.
My burner accounts.
Exactly.
Finsta, that's what the kids call it. My Finsta account.
I got you.
Yeah, so, as a coach, I'm having to battle against that. So it's almost like I'm coaching at the inner city school, so I'm already having to schedule my practice times against the city bus schedule. And now I'm having to fit your social agenda as well.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Kids don't go home and work out. They go home and get on.
Playground
No, you're
basketball.
right. You're right.
This your
But
porch.
This shit, saying all this makes us old too, right?
Indeed.
There's always that degree of like, every now and again when I get in these conversations, I'm just like, God damn it, we're old.
You
know what I mean?
But that's the battle too, right? It's like you can't lose too much ground. Everything changes,
but
you can't let it change
the flip
too
side
far.
of that is too where the realist in me recognizes that these kids have so much more
That's it.
available to them than what we did.
Exactly.
But then I sit there and I think about my dad's generation watching us growing up, saying
They
the
probably felt the same way.
exact thing. It's like a natural progression.
Yeah. It's like,
It is.
Yeah.
But like you go to high school games now and your student sections are non-existent.
yeah.
Why? Because everybody can text people who go to that game or whatever. They can find out the score if they care. They can find out what's going on. And most importantly, the only reason we went to games is because that was the social gathering spot for the next step of the night.
Yeah.
I don't need
doubt.
that now.
Yeah.
Because I don't
It's
have
all online.
like
Tweet it out.
we were making home phone calls.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You know what I mean, right? We didn't
Yeah.
have cell phone. We're older than you, actually.
Yeah, but the cell phone. So I was coming up, and the cell phone caught fire. My sophomore year, so the pagers was what was in.
Oh,
when
yeah.
yeah,
Those
and
too.
the payphones was still existing then. You know, I did.
Who is
too.
paging you?
Nobody. That was the worst part. I was just looking at that thing, hoping that it went off. Like,
Mom
hey, I
paged me
got
at 5 o'clock, so my friends. Yeah.
hey guys, got to find a payphone. That was it, man.
That was it.
And I remember when we got cell phones, it was probably junior year of my high school, but that was when it's like your parents gave it to you and they said, do not turn this thing on unless you're in a wreck or an
after,
emergency, because as soon as you
$2 a
turn it on,
minute.
it's $2. Right?
You better not send a text message.
Yeah. That's $10.
Go ahead and throw that
They
phone
weren't-
away. That bill gonna be sky high.
You weren't even around. Texting wasn't even around till I was like married. That's how old I am.
That's a good thing. Yeah, okay.
Keep going though, because you didn't stop at Henderson. Where'd you go from there? Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just move this from behind me because I can't pay for it.
Breaking pictures.
That's all right.
Don't worry about it.
It looked great till you knocked it over.
It looked better on the floor.
I'll set it up there on purpose.
SEC,
I need a new frame.
So then I played all the way up through high school, and
Where'd you go high school? Tell everybody.
Henderson County High School. Henderson
Big
County.
ass
I was
school.
just telling somebody this the other day. Henderson County High School and Christian County High School were in the same region. Well, guess who was number 3 and number 4 in the state?
Mater Dei and rights.
It's great. Yeah, you guessed it. Henderson County. And so anytime we went to regionals, we always had to play what should have been the state championship game.
Right.
We're playing it in the regionals,
Yep.
And when I tell you it should have been, it was literally sold out 2 weeks before we'd even play.
That's
a
really
good
dope
feeling.
for
That's
like
crazy.
For a women's high
Crazy.
school game?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Dope.
I look at basketball now and I'm thinking, I used to sell out arenas. I'm not saying we used to sell out arenas. And the kids looking at me like, I got game film. I promise you can see it.
Yep.
So
More important part of the community back then, though, too.
it was.
Like we talked about.
Yeah, for sure. And so I played high school ball at Henderson. And then after that, I was highly recruited, and it's nothing like it was. Now I look at some of these kids that are highly recruited, and they're like, so and so Zion's mom accepted and LeBron's mom accepted a deal. I'm like, hell yeah, she did. Like, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They're coming saying, yes, son's gonna be da 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 da. Oh yeah, I'm signing. Tell me where.
Yep.
So you can't even be mad at it. Let me stop because that's probably gonna segue into what he really wanted to talk about. But then I ended up at Miami of Ohio for all 4 years, and I played Division I basketball. I was spoiled. I came back home and was like, wait a minute, I gotta stay at a 2-star hotel. This is different.
Miami of Ohio, by the way, I almost went there. That was almost my alma mater.
Really?
Yeah, went and visited.
Really?
Out of state tuition, a little too much.
Yeah.
But beautiful. I mean,
Did you like your time there?
I loved it. I struggled the first semester right until we got into basketball season. I struggled bad.
yeah,
Sure.
man.
Yeah, I tried to
that's
flunk
natural.
out.
Cultural difference there. no
Very
doubt.
much so.
I struggled.
shook.
I didn't play basketball, and I struggled. And they called me in. And they're like, I don't know if college is for you. I'm like, you don't know Gary and Cindy Barnett. I can tell you that college is for me.
Right.
Please give me.
Yeah,
I'll
shot
take
to
one
stick
more
around.
semester.
Yeah, exactly. Please, I'm paying you. Why the fuck you care?
Yeah. Can I get a clue?
What about this tutoring thing you've told me about?
That's still an option.
Yeah. So I ended up playing there, and then I decided to come back. I had a job offer in Cincinnati. My coach had got me hooked up with some people, and
Did you guys go to the hang on? Did you go to the tournament at all?
we did.
Okay.
We went to the tournament. I was just telling the kid this the other day because I work out a couple of college kids. I ain't gonna name drop them.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna tread lightly right there. But I was talking to him. One of them struggling with like a playing time issue, and with girls, it is 99.99% mental, all of it. So a lot of basketball coaches who are males don't understand that, and you're still coaching them thinking that they're going to adjust to you, where they're not. It's not going to happen, So for 4 years, you are ruining that kid. That kid hates basketball, So you got to figure out how to be stern and how to be firm, and yet how to get a little, how to give and how to get. Otherwise, you're killing those kids. It's crazy.
I want to keep going on that. Do you think that applies to men's basketball now?
I do.
Because it seems like that is transitioned, or they've aligned more. Just the philosophies and the way that the players approach the game now.
Well, if you look at, especially now, like look at a lot of your top athletes who are raised by just mom. They're sensitive, not because I'm not saying it like they're soft. I'm just saying they have a sensitive side to them because they were just raised by mom. So that's all they get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they don't understand like the other side of it. So a lot of them struggle. Like you got, well, let's just talk about UK. But DeMarcus Cousins, he was up.
Yeah.
I mean, at the first sight of that verse, he just fly off. They would have to hurry up and sub him out, but that's all he knew.
Yeah.
But we see that every day.
Every day.
In our jobs.
Every
right?
day.
Like every day you see
every
that.
day.
And you work through it.
And when we work through it. But that's the thing, though, because we know that. You know what I mean? So you got a lot of coaches who have been in those positions for years. And for years, that's worked for them.
That's changed. The education side has changed more recently, too, because it wasn't like that. Like, if you were a problem child, we had a problem with you.
Get out.
Yeah.
It's changed dramatically
It's
even
a lot
since
more
I
graceful,
started teaching.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot more
for sure.
graceful, yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's just the way that
Recognition
it's
of
gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Cincinnati, you go.
So I had a job offer in Cincinnati, and I said, well, I'll talk to you about it or whatever. And then I came home for a weekend, and while I was home for a weekend, I got in the gym, and it was like girls and guys. We got in together, and we played pickup, and my old basketball coach was in, and he came. He said, Hawk, well, I see you're home, so I have a job. And I said, well, I don't know about coaching. You know, I'm a basketball player. I don't know how to make that transition. And he said, well, I tell you what, I'll just throw you in and you figure it out.
That's the best way to do it.
Decision was made for you.
Yeah. It was. And really, I probably never tell him to his face, but that one decision changed the rest of my life. I'm a good, I love basketball, so I don't really feel like I'm working,
Yeah.
And I take a pride in trying to help kids. Yeah. I take a pride in trying to help kids get out, because it's important for them to see the world, especially when, you coming up in the inner city and you're never going to get to see things like that,
Right. That's an interesting point, because I was talking negatively about everything that's available to kids these days.
Right.
But yet the world is so much more obtainable to these kids nowadays. So like when we were growing up, we grew up in a very little bubble, because we didn't see, and even me, white, middle class, right? College educated parents. I knew of the University of Tennessee because my dad went down there. I knew of IU, Purdue, and Notre Dame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these kids can get on social media accounts and follow different colleges and see all the different stuff.
The players, everything.
I mean, they really can get, if they want to, they can get outside of that bubble.
They're watching LaMelo on Facebook Live in Australia.
No doubt. So I mean, there is some good things.
It is,
too, because these kids know so much more about the world than I did at their age.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's wild.
Well, it's so accessible too. You know what I mean?
Saying, right?
It's so accessible, and like I talk to my kids now, and I'm telling them, look, you got to put together a recruiting profile. Do not, and I repeat, do not send college coaches highlight tapes. Don't do it.
Why?
And people do this.
Wait, why don't they do that? Because it's on YouTube. Like,
kids have no clue that when you send a highlight, I'm talking to my coach from Miami. She's the coach at Michigan State now. So we were talking. She'll come in town, and look, I love all of my coaches. They'll come in town. Hey, I'm coming in town. I'm recruiting in Louisville. I'm going to swing through there, and call the family. We're going to go to dinner, and we sit and we chop it up like, we cousins or something,
But that also says something about you and what they think about
that's
you.
a coaching network you're developing.
For sure.
It is. And so I'm talking to her, and I said, let me ask you something. I said, just tell me, what is one of your biggest pet peeves when you're recruiting? She said, when kids send me highlight tapes. Quick, pop. And I said, wait, why? And she said, well, why do I want to see what you're great at? Over and over and over and over. I need to see what you do under pressure moments. I need to see how you coach a team, when things are falling apart. I need to see how you respond to your coach. I can't see that by just watching your highlights. And I was like, you're right, huh? I never even thought about it like that. And so people tell me, whenever I'm telling them, hey, let's put together a recruiting profile. We're gonna give me your top 5 games. You get some letters of recommendation, and they're like, no, I got a highlight tape. I'm throwing it in the trash, because that's what they're gonna do, And they're looking at me like, well, we paid $2 $250 to have.
I was getting to that.
That sounds like a business.
It's a business.
It is, but
It's
they're
a
not
business.
telling you that when you send, I'm telling you, and she told me, she said, Hawk, I'm not lying to you. She said, you don't know how many highlight tapes we throw away a day. We just get them and throw them in. We put them in, see it's a highlight, take it out, boom, throw it away. You email us with some delete. They don't even give it a. And somebody said, do you think that they're serious? I said, well, why would she lie? She's trying to tell me how to help you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, she wants something real so that she can find the players she needs.
Man.
But they're not going to send those because there was money
because they paid
it.
$250.
That's it.
Production value.
That's it.
Yeah, but what people aren't telling you is the real.
Yeah.
Like so. I was talking to one of my kids and I said, listen, I understand that you're mad because you feel like you the star player because you were the star player in high school. But who the hell cares? Because right now you're playing around other star players at their high school. So what do you do that stands out that they don't do?
Right.
I understand that you're only playing a minute because you think that that's fine. Tell me what you can do that nobody else can deny. How is it that she's playing and she got 0 points? Well, I tell you why. Because her opponent also has 0 points, and her opponent that she's guarding is the best player on the other team. So she held her score. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or he. So it's I spend a lot of time trying to, and I feel like I always tell myself I want to do a clinic on what to do and what not to do during recruiting. Just because a lot of kids don't get it. I mean,
It sounds like, something that you're highlighting is that coaching, and this maybe goes with how players are today, is about managing personalities as much as it is managing the on-court or the practice time.
100%. 100%. And like, you know how you can look at some coaches and they're the same way the entire game. You can watch them and they always say, well, I coach the managers like I coach the best player. And that's great if that works, but it's not working,
Yeah.
So like I was saying, like DeMarcus Cousins, they had to coach him differently.
Yep.
It didn't mean they loved him more than they loved, John Wall, but it's just they had to approach him differently than how they approached John Wall. So you got to kind of.
We know that through education, right?
You got to be more
Indeed.
dynamic.
So
Indeed.
if my rule as a coach is everybody has to have their jerseys tucked in for practice to start,
Right.
and Meyer walks out and doesn't have his shirt tucked in.
I hate tucking.
But I know that Meyer is going to be a bitch about it, right?
Right.
And then you come out and you don't have yours tucked in. I might be able to light you up because you can respond to the yelling,
Right.
And just tuck it in and roll with it.
Right.
But if I did that to him, I would lose.
Oh, you're
him
going to fall
forever.
apart. Yeah.
And so it's still the same rules for everybody, but I have to pull him off to the side.
Exactly.
I have to do it discreetly as
Same
opposed
thing.
to making
Yeah.
an example out of you because I know you can handle it.
Yeah.
And then I might catch up with you a little bit later and be
And
like,
I'm gonna let
hey,
you- yeah.
appreciate you handling it that way. I knew I could get after you.
Right.
I needed to get through to Meyer. I appreciate it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But people
Right.
don't get that.
No.
People don't get that in education. Teachers don't get that either. It's the same thing. If you
Back
can
to basketball. We ain't going to go there.
if
I'm
you
just
can
playing.
coach,
Yeah.
that means you can teach.
Yeah.
And if you can teach, you can coach.
Exactly.
If you know the game. I
So-
mean, it's the same shit.
I got a technical one time in the game, and me being me, he's the referee called a bad call. Which kudos to referees because they have one of the toughest jobs
The
in
worst.
the
Thankless.
game.
Yeah.
Thankless.
Jesus, I couldn't do it, And so we're talking, and I said, "So are you not? What are we doing? Are you going to call it? Because I see you calling it on that end, but I need it on this end as well, And he said, well, I'll call it when I see it. And then something else happened. And I said, well, the ball don't lie. So, and he looked at me.
Hit him with the Rashid.
Yeah, hit him with
Ball
the
don't
whole.
lie.
Yeah, but
With
I hit
the
him.
Rashid.
I smacked him in the face with it. And then he looked at me and he
That's a
said
tech waiting to
something.
happen.
Yeah, you don't go Rashid if you don't want to get teed up.
Well, I was ready for it. And so he looked at me and he takes his whistle out of his mouth and he takes it off his neck and he hands it to me. And I said, no, sir. Those who don't do, teach. And those who don't teach, ref. That's your job. I'm the teacher. Yeah. I got a technical.
Throwing your ass
I got a technical real fast, but he felt me. Yeah.
I almost got teed up in Knox's game last year. My son Knox is 7.
Oh, man.
I know, man. The guy.
Yeah, that's
Fiery.
The dude called a lane violation on my team when we made a free throw. The score
calm
was
down,
30,
Steven Jackson.
37-1. That was our 1 point He called
it
a lane
back?
violation, took the point off.
He had money on the game.
It was 7. I waited till he got close to me. I looked at him and said, "Hey, you got to be shitting me, man." And he was like, "Oh, he lost it." And he was like, "I'll tee you up." And I'm like, "It's 37-0. It was 37-1 before you took that point."
Like, let it go.
Come on, man.
He could have let that one go.
That was a tough one for me to swallow over there.
All right, I wanted to get into just a little bit about just coaching in general, because I think it's such a weird thing in 2020. We've come so far on some things, but women in men's sports is still, it feels like such a barrier. Like every time I think it's a perfect time right now to talk about it, because I've heard a lot of Popovich's name being thrown around for the Philly job, for the maybe in Brooklyn, and of course the name that pops up is Becky Hammond, because she's right there in the wings,
right?
And I think, like, why hasn't that like, what is the hold up? Like, I mean, every year there's openings, and I just don't, there's lots of men that coach women's sports, like you said.
Right.
So what is the like mental hurdle that we're going over? And this probably speaks to my own ignorance. Like, I just can't see like what we're waiting for.
I'm going to piggyback on that and throw it to you. And can it work? Your opinion. Like, once you get through that, like, can it work? Can you see it working?
I can see it working. When you and if you think about it too, like you got Diana Taurasi. She on her way out. I think she'll coach men's basketball. Now she might coach women's, but she's got to shoe in with the men's too if she wanted to. I think that.
Wait, why do you say that?
Because everybody loves. Yeah, she's the white mamba. I mean,
she just
you know.
No, I know
told the ref that she would see him in the lobby.
I just didn't know if you had some inside info on that.
Yeah, right. Let me text her. Hold on. Yeah, but so
we might be able to make that happen.
I mean, let's get it. Yeah, let's get it. I'm with it. So I think that once we get to the point to where somebody, and let me backpedal for a second, because we're talking about something that has always been a barrier for not just women, but for black women.
Sure.
Look how many black women we have in collegiate sports coaching. Yeah. You know, and the ones that do are just blazing. You don't even gotta come on, like we talking about Don Staley, like, yeah, what are we doing? Put people in positions to where they can be successful, you know? Instead, a lot of the times we get in positions where the deck is really stacked against you, and if you figure it out, then you're a angel, but if you don't, then see, this is why we didn't do it, because, well, but you didn't tell everybody that, you know, you didn't give her any face cards. She had 2 of clubs, 3 of clubs, you know what I mean? So
right, even my example right now, Popovich gets to go to coach Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons or Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and she gets left with San Antonio.
Exactly.
Why shouldn't she take one of those?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So then we look at it like, well, who's going to be the one that steps out against the grain and goes for it? Because Pop was one of the first ones to do it. He's like, give it to me. Yeah. Let's go, you know? And so if you got somebody like Pop in the league that went against the grain and did it, and then everybody else is slow to it, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, because he's arguably greatest coach in history. He's the man. And she's been there, so it can't be like, you know, he's not keeping people around that aren't successful, aren't contributing, because he's all about winning too. Yeah. Like that guy, every year they win. What, 23 years they went to the playoffs, so not playing around.
Right.
So, I guess then. Let's get into you a little bit. Like, what's your leadership philosophy? Because I think that one of the things you are developing into is, you want to be a coach. I don't know if it's always going to be at the high school level or if you have aspirations beyond that, but certainly, like, just being frank, I mean, I see qualities that would be a good coach at any level, you know, like just ability to teach, like Barnett was saying, ability to communicate on a variety of levels. Like, I think that's what coaching is. It's such an all-encompassing thing now. Right. It's not just like drawn up plays. And I think maybe that's what it was. And it was more about, you know, so it's more about, I guess, or maybe not. Maybe it's always been a philosophy and it's just like changed over the years. Either of you two.
I think that there's a big part of managing egos that goes into coaching at any level now, because all of us have them, myself included.
Yeah.
And I think you have to. There's just dynamics you have to work around at every level, and I think that those egos have grown over time. So I think that like Coach Knight could be Coach Knight in his era,
Right.
But Coach Knight probably couldn't be Coach Knight in today's era, or he wouldn't be as successful because he wouldn't be getting top talent to come play for him, which he got top talent in that era, because people were looking for a disciplinarian, somebody was going to hold their feet to the fire, and somebody was going to make them do things right. That's just the way it was. And I think we've grown a little bit out of that. For right or wrong, better or worse, it doesn't really matter. It just is what it is. So I think that managing egos is just as big a part as the X's and O's, but you can't be an idiot with the X's and O's either. You know what I mean? You got to know a little bit of shit to get through some situational stuff. So I always thought I'm going to ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
'Cause I always thought, and this is in relation to your question, I always thought the hardest, and I've said it on here before, but I always thought the hardest part of being a coach was substitutions. The hardest part to me was getting people playing time and getting rotations in to where you might have a gamer sitting on your bench that played like shit all week in practice, but can come out and light it up in a game just when the lights come on type thing.
Ready to go.
But through the practice stuff in my head, I wasn't finding enough time in the rotation to get him or her in the game. You know what I mean? And then as the game's going on, you're concentrating so much on time, score, foul situation, all that stuff that you're almost like blindlessly coaching, or me was blindlessly
This
coaching.
is why his team was down 37-1.
The shit out of the players that were on the floor and just kind of losing track of my sub stuff and rotations. Like I always thought that was hard as hell.
So behind every good coach is a great assistant. Okay, so that's what I'm figuring out myself. And so I'm at Harrison. I'm building. Unofficially, I picked up a GOAT. I picked up an old coach vet by the name of Joe Newman. Yeah.
Joseph Newman, name drop.
Yeah, and if it don't work out, it'll be his fault because the ball's in his court. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
we had shit running before you came.
Man. Not exactly. But anyway, so
hey, they don't know that.
Yeah, my bad. So I think that when you put people that, and I tell people, I tell my coaches all the time, especially during the heat of the game, you're right. I tell them, hey, look, I can't call the defense, call the offense, tell who's switching who, tell what offense is coming up, what defense I need to switch to, and do subs. Help me. Help me out, No doubt. And they're always like, oh, okay. And a good part of being a good assistant is you have to be able to read the head coach's mind. So you better not sub. You better not sub the wrong one out and think that you're doing something. Because I tell you, come back. Give me somebody else. I don't know, what are you doing?
Do you remember practice yesterday?
Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Well, you told me to make subs.
Listen, I tell them too.
You would definitely be doing that with Barnett as your assistant.
We would have a lot of fun.
I can see it now.
A lot of fun.
Man.
0 wins, all the fun.
Yeah, but we ain't gonna hate it. We ain't gonna hate it. Yeah. So, and I also tell my coaches too. Look, if I sub somebody out, tell them why I subbed them out. I might not have time to because I'm on the other side of the. Tell them why I subbed. I don't want nobody sitting here wondering what I did wrong, because then when you sub back in and you make the same mistake, I'm gonna be twice as mad.
The game moves so fast.
It does.
It just moves so fast.
It does. So behind every good team, you have to have solid assistants. Have to.
So you talked a little bit about just like philosophy there, but how are you developing? I hear this thrown around all the time, like player development, and how are you developing as a coach? Like it's hard for me to even think about like what I would do. I've coached so long ago now. Like if I was at a higher level, like high school or college, like what am I doing to develop as a coach to like get better, to make sure I can then translate that into my players getting better?
I study a lot. Like sometimes,
like we're at the library, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't even have
You don't go to the library
at all. Everything we can pull it up on our phone. Yeah, all of that. What's it called? The books. iBooks or whatever.
iBooks.
Yeah, we can do all of that. So
I can tell you frequent iBooks.
What's it called?
what's it called? Cliff Notes.
You know that one app.
Google?
Spark Notes. Is that still a thing? It was a
The
thing.
internet?
Yeah.
Wait, but what are you watching? Videos then? Or what are you doing?
So
Okay.
sometimes
Coaches clinics still around?
But listen, one of the best things that ever happened was COVID. On the other side of it, they had so many virtual clinics. Like I'm sitting I'm sitting in clinics with, some of the top coaches in the world, and they're just telling us. So another thing too that I do is sometimes I'll watch basketball games and I won't watch the game. I'm just watching the coaches and the staff.
Are you watching mostly men's game, women's game, both?
Both.
Why both?
Because
Fun, or like you actually trying to
Basketball is
transit?
basketball, right?
yeah, basketball's basketball. However, each coach has a different, unique style. All right, like.
So are you watching like the coaching in there, or are you like watching players thinking like how I would coach them?
I'm watching the coaching of it. Like I'll watch something go wrong in the game, and I'll look at the coaches to see how they respond to it. And I'm animated, so sometimes
I can't imagine.
oh my goodness, sometimes like they'll shoot a shot, and I'm looking at them like, oh, for real? That's what we okay, all right. Go for it then, you felt that. Don't shoot it again. Thank you. Yeah. Don't shoot that ever again. Ever. I'm
hot.
Yeah, so.
The high volume shooter over there.
No,
Yeah, so I
Hawkins
studied.
would not have liked Josh Barnett, the ball player.
I can see it now. Sit down. Don't even take
my
your shooting
God.
shirt off. Leave it on.
He would have been best friends with the assistant coach though, and he'd been trying to sell it.
Absolutely.
Ah, man.
Get Josh in
Hey,
there.
get me back in the game.
My mama says she'll take you to Sirloin Stockade if you.
Oh my gosh! What else? You got, Hawk? That was pretty kind of the end of my line of questioning.
Let me ask, how's the Harrison Warriors looking this year?
I say this every year, and I say we're building, and now I'm to the place where I believe that we are truly building.
Sure.
You
How
know,
many years?
This would be my third year.
Third year,
yeah.
right?
Don't ask me my record. We ain't talking about that right now.
I know what your record is. I'll follow you. That's okay.
On Twitter or what?
On all those burner accounts.
all those burner accounts.
I got the spicy ones.
I got the blue check.
TikTok. He's on there.
So you're building, and you think that you can. You think you got something this year potentially.
Potential wise, yes. I got a good group. The thing that I love about this group is, which has been hard, was building up the feeder league, at Harrison, because that's where it starts.
100%.
I'm getting to high school and I'm teaching kids, okay, you can't dribble with both hands, right? You can't do that. And now I'm to the point to where I'm like, yeah, if you take another step, you can do a Euro.
Right,
and I'm like,
right.
I just tell a Euro. So I'm excited about what's to come, and I'm excited about where I think the program is about to shift to.
That's awesome. But that's a lot of hard work. I know.
A lot of sleepless nights.
A lot of hours.
Yeah.
In the feeder league, that is like
Money.
hard work.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
And a lot of it's my money,
Mileage,
Your money and
Keep
your,
track of that mileage.
your time.
my money that I don't have. I'm
Yeah.
investing
in
it
time.
because
Yep.
I believe, that program could be elite again. Like
Yeah.
I believe that
sure.
if I get the right pieces in place and I get them to listen to me just long enough, we'll be all right. But you got to think too. We're dealing with what's going on in society, so it's hard. It's hard being a black coach, period. There have been a couple games we've been to, and I'm nervous for my kids. Like we hurry up and get this game over with so we can go home, and there have been a couple times we've been in the sticks. The referees refuse to shake my hand before the game. Like, how often do you see? Yeah, they wouldn't. They refuse. And my kids is looking at me like, Coach, you gonna let that ride? Yes, it's too early for me to show off,
Yeah.
So we're dealing with, issues where my kids are texting me like, Coach, you live in Kentucky. I'm like, it's 20 minutes from your house. Don't play with me, But Coach, you live in Kentucky. Why come what's going on with Breonna Taylor? I don't know. I don't know, but listen, I'm here for you. Any other questions you got, I'm going to try to help you, so we're looking at basketball now where it's shifting from just basketball to now it's being an advocate for social justice. So,
but you should feel, in my opinion, you should feel prideful that they reach out to you.
I love it.
Right?
And that's the kind of program I want, though.
Sure.
Well, you get to shape their response too.
Oh, yeah.
That's
for sure.
Because that's the thing. Like, young people can be a powerful voice in this world, but they need guidance in that,
well,
so that it doesn't become uncontrolled.
Reaching out to you to see how you're reacting.
Well, for sure. And they know that.
And they trust you.
Yeah, when it's time for coach to turn up, coach gonna turn up. And so I was coaching during the summer, and one of the parents leaned over and she said, "Do you get many complaints?" And I said,
"The fuck you going with that?"
I looked around like, "Well, what parents, baby? It's just me."
Google reviews.
Yeah. So I looked around and I said, "No," and she said, "So nobody calls down and complains on you?" I said, "No. They don't," and she just looked like, and so at the end, I got to thinking, dang, was I too rough? Did I go too hard? And then I'm looking like, no, I didn't go too hard. So, but the thing about them is, and that's what I try to explain to them. Am I hard on them? Hell yeah, I'm hard on them. Am I tough? Yes, I'm tough, but the world's not soft. So either you're going to get used to me being tough and you responding to how tough I am, or you just going to get railroaded your whole life, or you just going to react the adverse way and you're going to turn up with me and we both going to be butting heads. And I promise you I'm going to win that one, So what I tell my kid, everybody always, so what is different? I was like, my kids know if I'm hard on you, it's because I asked you to do something, you didn't do it. Not because I think you're less of a person, and I'm not doing it to be detrimental. The very kids that I'm getting on to are the same kids that would get, as soon as we get done, they say, "Coach, can you give me a ride?" And I'm hungry. Can you take me to get something to eat? So I got to take them to eat. So they say, and I say, listen, I can get onto them because they know that right after I get onto them, guess who's going to pull up at grandma's funeral and sit beside me at the funeral? You hear me?
Absolutely.
So I'm sitting with my kids, or I'm pulling up at doctor's appointments that we really shouldn't be at, But I'm just telling you, look, I know you pregnant, but this is what we're going to do. You're going to have this baby, and you're going to take care of it. And if you want to come back next year, come on back.
I'll tell you what, that's like, Hawk, that's like coaching DNA. I mean, I was just talking to a guy that played for Raleigh Massimino like 30 years ago. And he said one of the things he did in recruiting things, he's like, "I'm not your coach for 4 years. I'm your coach for 40 years. And he turned up, helped this guy start a nonprofit organization, like years after that he had left the school, like put his name out there. And that's coaching DNA. Like, I think that's what makes coaches great, is that their willingness to be hard, to be tough when they need to be, but to ultimately somehow, get their players to know that they love them too on that, in that way, that look, we're in this for the sport, but it's more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was highly recruited, and I used to come home from basketball practice, and there would be coaches sitting in my living room. My mom's giving me the eye, like, "Why the hell you didn't tell me the house is a mess?" I'm looking at my mama like, "I didn't know." Nobody texted me, called me, whatever. And so
probably couldn't text. That'd be a violation.
Text me, yeah. Well, my senior year, after a certain month, they can text you.
Floodgates were open.
Right. And so, it became
Poor Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah, no, man.
It became overwhelming,
Yeah.
And so, right during the middle, right before preseason, I'm coming home and there's coaches sitting out. So one day I come home, there's Murray State, there's Western Kentucky, and then there's Miami of Ohio, and there was a few more. Sorry. I mean, I literally had to go from 20 to 10, from 10 to 5, from 5 to 3, from 3. Yeah, so it was one of those. But anyway, so everybody says,
I remember that.
Yeah, UK.
I'll beat your ass.
UK.
Right now,
Listen, I didn't
sitting over here bragging, talking all this shit to
and
me.
I don't tell.
I'll beat your ass right now.
I don't even tell people this story because I don't want it to seem like I'm bragging. But so what happened
that's
was,
to be proud of.
Well, what happened was when everybody says, "Why did you choose Miami over UK?" or "Why did you choose Miami over Murray or Western?" And I say, because she was real. The coach came in and she looked my mom and dad in the face and said, "Look, I understand this is your pride and joy. This is your baby. This is your everything. But when you sign that paper, that's my child." And my mama looked at me like, wait a minute. Like, and I'm looking at my mama like, okay,
my mom would have been like, good luck.
Yeah.
Where do I sign?
Right. And my mom was looking, because as a parent, that's one of the most nerve-wracking things. Like, who am I giving my daughter away to, or my son?
With?
Right.
Absolutely.
Where is Miami, Ohio?
Yeah, right. And so a lot of people go for the name.
Yeah.
I could have went to U of L. We get to the NCAA tournament. Guess who the first team is we draw? U of L. Guess who got killed? Miami. Yeah, Miami got killed. The coach shook my hand at the game. He said, Hawkins. I said, I still stand by my choice, coach. He said, well, as long as you happy. I said, I'm happy. And they said, well, why did you do that? And I said, well, because she was the only one that came in and sat in my living room and didn't bullshit us.
Yeah.
And a lot of those kids, if you look at them, they're getting sold a dream that the coaches really don't plan on fulfilling.
Yeah, but that says something about you and your upbringing too, where it wasn't a status symbol choice.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's a bit. I would fight that. I would have a hard time, right?
Yeah.
It'd be dope to say that you went to UK or U of L over a Murray or a Western or what. And no disrespect, man, at all. But there's kids that would, I might have been one of them.
Yeah,
that would have chose to go to the name just to be like, UK.
Yeah. And it was one of the most humbling things. We getting ready to play U of L in the NCAA tournament on national television, and I don't get to start. Ooh. My mom's having a big party at the house, and I started all season, and I don't get to start. I knew I wasn't starting because I got in trouble at shoot around. The coach said, well, Hawk, you missed your defensive assignment. And I looked and I laughed, not like, ha ha. I kind of was like, because I wasn't even in the game.
Yeah.
And I think she just said my name by accident, but the way I responded was what got me in trouble. She said, well, since you think it's funny, see if you laugh tomorrow. And then my teammates is looking at me like, no. So the game starts. And we lose and we get done and the coach is talking to us and I can hear my phone behind me. Zzz, 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 so I'm sitting there and then she gets in talking and I answered the phone and I said, hello. And she said, well, what did you do this time? She said, I got all these people over here. This is embarrassing. And I said, it won't happen again, But I owned up to my mama didn't call the coach. It was none of that like, well, you should have done this because it was on that. Mm-hmm. No, she knew I did it, She knew me. So, and even if it was something that minute, it ended up blowing up and it bit me in the ass big time. So from that point on, I try to have my reactions and especially my facial expressions, and it works out even better now due to Corona because I keep that mask on.
How hard is that as a coach though to be in the position where you got to sit somebody to prove that point to let them know because that's a delicate.
Not hard at all.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and answer it for
you. Were just saying you're talking about DeMarcus and how you could lose
He's not telling the truth. So I coached my kid, so I adopted a kid, one of my basketball kids who stayed in trouble, and I was the only resource everywhere, every placement she had been to. I was the only resource on her file that they could call to get her to snap out of it. You can't do stuff like that. You can't go do that. You can't. So finally I said, stop calling me. At this point, I might as well take custody of it. And the social worker said, well, that's what we was going to talk to you about. And
funny you mentioned that.
I said, well, let me pray about it. I'll be back. and it ended up being the best decision of my life. So, wow. But I coached her, and her and I are a lot alike. We're both headstrong, and we're both serious about what we're doing. And she's playing the game, and we're neck and neck with this team. And she keeps bending down, squatting down, bending down, squatting down. So finally, I looked at her. The other team shooting a free throw. She's kind of back towards about our bench, and I said, "Are you good?" And she just looked at me, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she looked at me and said, well, just take me out. I said, say less. I took her out of the game. We started getting drilled. Do you hear me? Ooh. My assistant tapped me on the shoulder and said, you want to put your daughter back in? I said, what daughter? Who? Who did it? What kid? She said, your kid. I said, no, I ain't putting her back in, Yeah,
the hardest part is hurting your team.
It was, but
that's the hardest part.
You know what? From that point on, though, what we found out after the game was she thought I was being an asshole. And I was really genuinely concerned. Like, what is wrong with you? And why are you running at 30%?
Right. Got to be bigger than the game.
And I'm trying to figure it out.
So that was always my thing as a middle school coach. Like, I would get put in that, and I'm like, man, it's not going to benefit the team if I sit this dude down. And then I'm like, it's 8th grade
bigger than
basketball.
the game. You got to be bigger than the game, right?
And we
Who gives a
lost.
shit?
We
I don't care about my record. Like, this is life lessons, man.
We got killed, and she said at the end of the game, and we talked about it like 4 days later because we walked around the house without speaking for about 4 days. So after the 5th day, Logan was like, church and state.
Who wasn't speaking to the other one?
She was like, church and state, figure it out. So I was like, look, I was genuinely concerned. I thought something was wrong with you, and I was trying to get you out to get whatever it was fixed so you can get back in. And she said, well, I felt like you were being smart. I said, but I wasn't. I was trying to figure out what was wrong. Yeah. And then I said, now you see how simple that is? It was real simple, and we made it bigger than what it had to be. But you're not going to tell me to take you out of the game and think I'm going to put you back in. I don't give a damn what happened, And she said, okay, you're right. And then from that point on, I mean, she's staying in whole games, hurt or not, running with one leg, But we then had an understanding, like, look, if you hurt, come and tell me so I can get you out, get it fixed, and then throw you right back in if permitted, Yeah.
And now she's trying to sell Yeezys that I was able to secure for you.
And now she's hustling.
I went through the hard work getting the Yeezys, and next thing you know, they're up on GOAT.
She posted
and here we go.
And guess what? Now they back in my closet.
Like you wouldn't have done the same thing.
They were always intended to be.
It worked out perfect. You hear me?
Just how we drew it up.
That's it.
All right, guys. We got Hawk. You gonna come back? I want to watch a game.
Hell no, she ain't coming back.
I want to watch a game.
She ain't come back.
I want to watch a game
because we're gonna talk about some more stuff outside of sports.
All right,
we're gonna nail it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Can't wait. When you come back? A half hour?
About 2.
2 hours.
How far is Mo's house from here?
We'll just take all this shit and do it from there.
Thank you for listening to the 199 podcast. For more information, check out the blog at 199.com under HVS. And while you're there, pick up a pair of retro college shorts. Until next time.